Hello and welcome to the Finny Games. There's a few things I wanted to talk about, mainly relating to the 4080 Super and if I think you should buy it. I've enjoyed my 4080 Super build a lot. Coming from I had two builds at the same time. I had a 1080 Ti Ryzen 7 1700X build, and that thing was actually still going pretty strong. And I had a 2080 Ti Zotac AMP Extreme. Um, Ryzen 7 3700X, and that GPU, that PC build was still doing great too for the games I play. Um, I did buy some newer titles, and like even an older one like Far Cry 6 was pushing the 280 Ti with ray tracing onto the brink of death. And so I downloaded a bunch of FSR mods, and the FSR quality did not look as good as I thought it would. So it's actually completely just turned off from upscaling. And then I was like, maybe I should get a 3090. And I was like, nah, those are still way too much. So then I looked at a 3090 Ti. And I was actually so turned off from the 40 series because of how everyone was saying it was overpriced, and everyone was talking about how they absolutely hated the card. So I said, I'm going to avoid the 40 series like a plague. Besides for VRAM, the 40 series is amazing. Like, this is more powerful than the 3090 Ti without DLSS, without upscaling, and then you can throw that on top. And the AI integrated upscaling in this GPU architecture is phenomenal. Every game I want to play, as long as DLS is on, it's great. But the issue I have, the kicker, is that 16 gigabytes of VRAM does not seem like it will suffice leading into 2025. And but like the comfort I have is that they're releasing a 5080 with 16 gigabytes of RAM, but that is GDDR7. And so I want to know, is that like enough? Should I feel safe with an upgrade if I turn my 4080 Super in for that, or is it just not worth it? That card's supposed to be more powerful than a 4090 supposedly, except with less VRAM. I don't see the 5080 being. I feel like they put 16 gigabytes of VRAM there, so it's not a clear winner between the 4090 and the 5080. They're kind of competing with themselves. They're kind of doing this annoying Apple-like marketing strategy where they're just putting everything just a like little inch above, so there's not really a good value in between anything, unless you just want to get the latest 90 series card. And it's crazy to me that we're in a period where the 90 series cards or the Titan cards are they've always been the flagship card, but now I feel like they're the expectation because of the amount of VRAM. And I was like looking back at the RTX Titan compared to the 2080 Ti, and I know up front in the short run, yeah, that VRAM performance will be a big win. But looking back at the 24 gigabyte RTX Titan and the 280 Ti, games maxed out, you get a 5 frame per second difference. And then, like, on the newer titles, like if you're on Ultra, 4K, or even like lower settings, like with these newer games, say the VRAM isn't helping the RTX Titan outperform the 280 Ti 11 gigabyte all that well. And so I'm wondering if we're going to be in the same type of conundrum. And I was watching a Digital Foundry video not too long ago with the 4060 8 gigabyte versus the 4060 16 gigabyte Ti, whichever variant it was. And the VRAM didn't even help it in performance. I think a lot of people know that, but it's just like, do we put too much emphasis on VRAM for gaming? Uh, are things is like, is there something else that's holding these GPUs back besides just VRAM? Or is it just poor optimization? Like, there's just so many questions I have, like, with this upgrade. It's been a more complicated upgrade than I think I've ever had to make. And this is the first time I bought an 80 series card, the generation it comes out, and I'm like, I don't know. If I want to max out my games, I don't know if this is good enough. And so I wanted to do a review where I told everybody how great this card was and how I recommend it. But with the way they're marketing everything, like, I think it's just best to sit and wait. Um, but if you're planning on upgrading to a 50 series card, I would definitely recommend getting one of these on like a holiday extension for the return policy, because if the scalping and these cards really do release with a higher price and the tariffs and everything, let me put it this way: what we just saw with the, because this is a 4080 Super Ryzen 7 9700X build, and I got the 9700X in the first place because the 7800X 3D was selling for close to 500, and I could have waited for 4 months. Not going to happen. And I could have got the 9800X 3D, but lo and behold, they still sold that for close to 5, and the price of the 7800X 3D did not go down; it went up. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen to this GPU market. Like, I don't see them lowering the price considerably on these 40 series cards because of how stingy they're being with the VRAM. They're making you make compromises unless you want to go all the way to the top. And so if the 5080 releases uh, and it has better performance, slightly better performance than the 4090, but has less gigs of VRAM, people will still see the 4090 as a viable option. But if these things are scalped and they're marked up, people are just going to pay for the 5090, or they're just going to pay for the 580 Super. They're going to get the new thing and not the old thing because the old thing is more expensive than the new thing. Because the new thing is more expensive than the old thing is more expensive than the new thing. And so, sorry, it's just hard to keep track of all these prices because it's just been crazy. And so, like, I'm wondering, should I hold on to this or should I trade it in for the next for the 5080 Ti? Hopefully, it has 24 gigabytes. But again, I paid $1,200 for a 2080 Ti back in 2007, 18, and it's like that was without the inflation and everything, and I only paid $1,000 for this. So I don't feel like that's like too much of a bad deal because I'm used to paying more. But at the same time, though, this is just a 4080 with like two more CUDA cores or something like that. I don't know, but it's pretty much the same card. You get two extra frames per second on average, and 1 frame higher and 1% lows. Something stupid. And I'm wondering if like the new, like the 5070 Ti, is the 5070 Ti going to release for $99.99 like I've read on a lot of the leaks? And if so, we heard it's slightly better than this card. So is this just going to be like the third rebadge of the 4080? I had the 4080, the 4080 Super, and now we're getting the 5070 Ti. And I know it has the new GDDR7 memory, but do y'all think that will make enough of a difference for me to upgrade from the 4080 Super to the 5080 when that time comes, or should I wait for the 5080 Ti? It's just, there's just so much stuff because I do want to have the latest 80 series card because I feel like we were kind of gypped on these ones. Only because we didn't get a TI. We didn't get something to buffer in the middle between the Titan/90 series card versus the 80 series card. Normally we get it in between, like the TI or the Super is supposed to get us a little closer to that. And I'm thinking with their terrible like the way they're really setting this up, it's going to force us to stay with less or get a 90. And you're going to suffer the price if you get a used 4090. And most people are just going to opt to go for the newer 5090 card for this small niche. But they're really like they're destroying the middle class. It really seems like they're destroying the like the middle high class, which is like the 80 series cards. Uh, but I don't know. It's just kind of a conundrum for me. I really wish that we had something more in between, but it's looking like I'm going to have to be a 90 series slash Titan gamer, which is really sad because I never ever wanted to have to buy a Titan to feel like I would be able to play max out my game settings for at least 4 years. In 3 years, I'm going to be on medium. I have 16 gigabytes of VRAM. This is this isn't going to cut it. So I like if you're not trying to play 4K, and I do play with DLSS for all the people that are like, oh, we can't do it anyway. This thing kicks ass with DLSS on in 4K, and you will have a hard time telling the difference with the way this GPU is. And sorry, I'm just rambling, but the main thing I wanted to ask before I get this review on board that's long overdue, should I just trade this in for a 5080? And will GDDR7 make much of a difference for that small lack of VRAM? It literally has half the VRAM of the 5090. We literally get a 5090 with 32 gigs, and the next card down has half the VRAM. Like, that's so sad. That's pathetic. Sorry. But you know how it is. So that's pretty much my question. Should I trade this in for 5080, the new one? Do you guys think that the new type of memory will be that significant for me to upgrade? Or should I just sit out this upcoming series and wait for the 6? I'm not waiting for the 7 with 16 gigabytes of VRAM. The PlayStation 5 Pro has 16 gigabytes of VRAM. And these games are not optimized well. So we're getting very little cushion now. But please, just answer my question, and I'll have a good quality video actually about the card coming out soon. I do love this card, and I do recommend this card. It's just hard to recommend anything with what's going on right now. Thank you.